So I'm just getting ready to block this new cowl. So it's knitted in the round, turn it inside out. So you start here, you knit in that direction, then you knit the whole of the colour work, and then you knit here, and then you seam it together at the end. You can do a 3-needle cast off at the end if you do a provisional cast on at the beginning and don't cast off the end stitches. You can then do a 3-needle cast off or grafting it. A lot of stitches to graft, but I decided to sew it together. So you can feel the seam in the middle, but it's not too bad. And then it has a picot edge at the top and the bottom. So I've been thinking about how to block this. So wondering whether I should just steam it, whether I'd soak it and then just stretch it out a little, just smooth it out a bit and dry it flat, or whether I just spray it with water and just leave it to dry flat, or whether I actually pin it out. And I have decided that I'm going to pin it out because the colour work is fairly even, but it's a little bit uneven in places, which is normal. Colour work definitely needs some form of blocking. And also one of the stripy sides, I think it's this side, I knitted one half of the stripes at the beginning, and then I unpicked it because I wasn't happy with it, and then re-knitted it. So one side is a little bit, I was going to say one side is a bit more uneven than the other. I think it might be this side, but I can't quite tell. So I decided that it probably does benefit from proper wet blocking. So that's what I'm going to do, because there are basically 4 layers of fabric here, because there's 2 layers here, 2 layers here. So when you put it on top of each other, there's going to be 4 layers of fabric, which means it will take a long time to dry. It is going to be hot this weekend. So I'm hoping that means it'll dry quicker. Also, it won't be very big. So what I might do is actually put my blocking mats on top of this board. And that way I can actually move it out into the garden this afternoon. When the sun comes around to our patio, I can actually put it on the table out there, and then it might dry quicker. So I'm going to go and give it a soak. So I'm going to soak it just for a few minutes, max 10 minutes. I might do slightly less because I don't want it too wet, and then I'll come back and show you how I'm going to block it. Okay, so I have soaked this cowl. Wet blocking doesn't mean you have to particularly stretch it out and use blocking wires and all that kind of stuff. You can just soak it and then smooth it out and leave it to dry. The advantage of soaking something is that it gives it a chance to relax. So think of it as having like a hot, warm bath. You just kind of chill. All the stitches do that as well. So I put my blocking mats on top of this board because this board isn't, as you can see, it's not that big. Means that I can move it outside in the sun, which may mean it dries a bit quicker. Okay, so apologies that you can see the legs of my lights there. Just means that the light is a little bit better, and I just had to try and get the best setup I could get so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So this one has got some picots here. What I was wondering about doing was actually putting this wire inside the picots. So just putting it inside this tube, because this is a double layer fabric. Hang on, you can't see that. This is a double layer fabric. Originally I was actually thinking about, I might do that instead, going, no, that's not going to work. I was thinking about going in and out of these picots, but that's not going to work. So what I'm going to try and do is just thread it inside here. Obviously the difficulty thing is that it pokes out sometimes. So I'm just going to try and carefully thread it inside. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to just lift up the top layer of fabric. So I'm on the bottom half now. I'm just going to see if I can take this all the way through. Oh, it's come out there. That's not good. So it's much easier to do this if you can actually put your hand inside the fabric, but we can't do that. So let's come out again. If I lift this top bit up. Okay, so what I need to work out is how many of these picots do I have? Let's just see. What I really should have done before I cast off was to put a marker in each side so I could like work out exactly, you know, make sure I got half here and half at the bottom, if that makes any sense. So let's just, it's nearly there now. Oh, then they came out on the top layer of fabric. Okay, let's see there. I think that's about it. Okay. So I'm going to try and, okay, so I need to do a little bit more on this side. Hang on. Need to do a little bit more here. There, I reckon, might be about half. So I could count a number of picots, but I can't be bothered. Or maybe I can, I don't know. I don't think it matters that much. Okay, and then I need to make sure that this picot edge is at the top, so that it doesn't, I don't pull it out like that. I've got to make sure it matches this picot, the wire is right inside that picot edge. And then I'm going to use my Nipro nip blockers. And I know it is right at the bottom of the fabric. I like to line things up with the edge of my blocking mat because it makes it just a lot easier to make sure you get a straight edge. Oh, hang on. There we go. You don't need to put these right next to each other. There we go. And there. And then we'll just put a small one on the end. Probably don't even need to put them that close together. If you don't have these nip blockers, you can use pins. I have my tin of pins here, but I just find the blocking nip blockers easier. So then I want to, before I do the wire across the top, I'm just going to put a wire inside this tube of fabric just for later on, because it'll make the next stage a little bit easier. Like that. I'm just going to switch the camera off and count these picots. So I'm going to do the tops, and I'm going to try and do the same thing with this wire. Go in here and try and make sure it doesn't poke out through the top or bottom layer of the fabric. So if I lift this bit up like that, I can see the wire on the outside, but I can also keep an eye on whether it pokes out like I just did there. And then we're going to go all the way over to the side here. Okay. This bit right at the end here is really difficult. Probably would have been an idea to do this top bit before I put the blocking nip blockers in place. I'm going to actually do that, use the same nip blockers. So what I'm going to do is like that, line it up with the bottom one so that I only use one nip blocker. So lift that one up, make sure this is lined up with the picots, and then put that one down. I think I need to stretch this a little bit lengthwise as well, but we'll, widthwise, sorry, but we'll see. Okay, there. And so I haven't counted the number of picots I got on this top layer, because if I got 50 on the bottom, I should be okay. I should have 50 at the top. I'm going to take that one off, and I think you can see that. There we go. Use a bigger one because I managed to stretch it a little bit more. So that's that done. Now I've got to do the same on the other side, and I think it's actually going to be easier if I flick this around, and then I also need to go and get a couple of more blocking wires. Okay, so I've just flicked this around. Once you've actually started blocking something, it's not that easy to move like the whole blocking setup around, because it tends to be quite big, but because this is fairly small, it's not too bad. I'm just thinking, just notice up here there's a little bit what I actually think has happened is that, right, what's happened here, up here, is that I noticed this tight stitch, and what's happened is that I have caught some yarn. That's really annoying. I've caught some yarn with this blocking wire, and because I can't see it, I've got to try and feel it. So I'm going to just take this wire out a few stitches and then try and put it back in. So when you have stranded colour work, it can be easy to catch the strands, which is why I made a lining for this, basically. But obviously I can't see the inside of the fabric, and the same thing has happened here as well. So that's not, so I can see, can you see, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of pulling, I can see it's pulling here. So I'm going to just go around the other side of the table and try and sort that out. That's really, really annoying. Hang on, where is it? I can feel it inside here. I can feel the strand. So I've obviously pulled out, caught a strand somehow. Don't know how I've done that, but it's very frustrating. So I'm going to try and do this again without catching anything. If your colour work looks nice and even and you're fairly happy with it, you don't have to block it like this. You can. Don't need to do the whites on the outside. You can probably just do the knit blockers. Then you don't risk doing what I just did. But, you know, keeping it real here. Okay, so let's just line this up again. And pin it down again. There we go. And then one in the middle here. Okay, that's better. I think. No, there's still one caught there. Oh, that's really annoying. Still one that's caught right in the middle. Okay, I'm wondering whether I take that top wire out and I just pin it. So I've got a wire in the bottom layer, but I haven't got a wire at the top. I'm just going to pin it with my knit blockers because I clearly can't not catch the thread. Once you've got a long loose thread, it's a bit difficult. So I can feel there's nothing there caught now. That's good. I'm just wondering whether I try and not do the blocking wires at the top here. So let me just line this up, and then we want to pull that out to the side a bit. So I'm pulling this out under fair bit of tension because that'll help the stranded colour work to even out a bit. Problem with blocking something flat like this with wires is that you will get almost like a crease line at the side here. If you had a tube, you could put a tube in instead of these wires at the side, and then you wouldn't get the flat crease line at the side here. I don't have any suitable tubes, so I can't do that. I've been thinking about what I could use, but what I'm going to do is I will just move that crease, when it's dry, I'll move the crease line into the center and I'll just steam it a bit with a steam iron and see if that'll even it out. Right, so let's see what we are doing here. So I feel like I've stretched a little bit too much at the bottom here, so I'm just going to relax a little bit here, and then we're going to stretch this out on the side here, put some of these knit blockers in. Got to make sure you don't stretch it too much. This is not lace, so you don't want to stretch it too much, so I may have to relax a little bit. And then I'm actually going to not put the blocking wires in at the top here. What I'll do is I'll just make sure these edges are lined up. Then I'll just, so I'm just making sure that the picot edge is at the top here, and then I'm just going to put these knit blockers in. So now, because I don't have any wires in, I am putting these knit blockers close to each other. so that I don't get, because I'm stretching, if I don't put these close to each other, I'll get like a little relaxed bit in between. So it'll almost be like scallops, and that I don't want. Okay, so this is stretched a little bit too much there. So if you got wires underneath, you don't need too many nip blockers. If you don't have wires, then you will need some more nip blockers. I think that looks okay. I'm just going to do some measurements to make sure that this edge is the same length as that edge, and the side edges are the same, and just check that everything, I'm happy with everything, and then leave that to dry.